Welcome back to another edition of the Knight Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Crouthamel. Richie and Alec were both at Gary Redus, his introductory press conference today as the next women's basketball head coach at Rutgers University. We'll get into the sights and sounds of that press conference, notable lines that were said, some things that were heard around the Rodkin Center after that speech, or in that introduction. It wasn't the Rodkin Center, it was the RAC.
The APC, baby.
APC, sorry. So we'll get into everything that was said there. But first, we got to shout out a couple sponsors. We're sponsored by FanDuel. Tonight, the World Baseball Classic finale is on TV. The USA is a minus 265 favorite. I gotta believe, I don't see any way the US finds a way to lose another heartbreaker in the World Baseball Classic. So I like the US there. I still like Rutgers win total over 4.5. What else? You guys got anything that you like either for the tournament or for wins totals?
Plus 1,000. We're going to do it. Aaron Judge, baby. First at bat home run.
Okay.
And you know what? Parlay it with the US too, because that minus 220 just doesn't do it for me, or minus whatever it was, 265 now. Jeez. Maybe not.
It's bold. Judge in a big game. I say this is Yankees. Let's see. Trying to think of the tournament. Like, this tournament's weird. I don't know how the upsets are going to work.
I got one upset I like a lot. If you don't have one,
I'm trying to think of some.
Because my problem too, is but I want to hear
my brackets. Yeah, my problem is I pick too many upsets.
I like the Fighting Brian Hodgsons as an 11 seed to upset Louisville round one in 11-6 upset, plus 190 on the money line there.
That's one of the ones that I liked.
I will say I have that one in my bracket as well. And if you want to join a bracket, TKR is running a bracket pool. Well, 2 bracket pools technically, but we won't talk about the second one that much. The first bracket pool is free to enter. It's on Yahoo. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, etc. It's on all those things. The link's right there to join. It's via Yahoo. If you can't find it on social media, go to the message board on the men's basketball forum if you're a free member. If you're not a free member, what are you doing? I mean, no. If you're not a premium member, what are you doing? It's also on the premium board. Very easy link, very easy to get into. Free to enter. Prizes from free year of TKR. First place gets a free Rutgers basketball jersey of their choice. I will highly recommend, if you do win, probably wait a little bit just before you pick a player, just in case. Okay. Transfer portal is coming up around the corner. So, definitely wait for that. Second place is a Night and Day apparel T-shirt of your choice, plus 6 months of the Knight Report. And then I believe it's either 3 or 6 months for the third place. I don't even remember. If you know what, I might as well just change it to 6 months just to make it even and fair.
Love it. And we're also brought to you by coachingties.com. This is a site I launched this weekend. It shows all the connections between different coaches across the country, different schools, 2 coaches, different regions, things like that. I have Gary Redus' profile up. You can see who he has coached under his coaching tree, all his connections. If you want to see who might make sense to, this is how we developed our hot board, and it's been pretty dead on so far, gotta say. But coachingties.com, you can get a football membership, basketball membership, women's basketball membership. If you use the code TKR, you get 10% off any of your purchases. And if you hit me up, I might hook you up with something a little bit even more juicy than 10% if you message me and are interested in becoming a member.
At Mike Broadbent on social media.
At Mike Broadbent or at Coaching Ties on Twitter. Let's talk about this presser, though. Vibes seem pretty high. All I got to see was the actual recording, but you guys were both there. Talk a little bit about the general sights and sounds of the introductory presser for Gary Redus. Alec, let you start.
I mean, obviously it was good. I feel like, some things have to go very wrong for the vibes to be bad at an introductory presser, but this one was definitely among the good ones. There was a lot of figures from around Rutgers from the past of the program as well that were in attendance. So a lot of really good, a lot of really good vibes all around. Kelly Zinn spoke for a little bit and introduced Gary Redus, and then he had his introductory, remarks, and then the press conference was underway. He gave a fair amount of some pretty good answers. There were definitely a lot of questions that he got asked. There were some, there were, I'm going to have a story out either tonight or tomorrow morning about the biggest takeaways, but there were definitely some takeaways that he really tried to hammer in, whether it was in the actual press conference or, when we spoke off the side with him afterwards, us and all the media that were there. But I mean, I think he did a pretty good job in the opening press conference. Obviously, one of the big news items is that Rob Sullivan will be transitioning to working only with the men's basketball program, and Gary Redus will be getting his own GM on the women's side. Might be time to fire up that old hot board machine again and try to get something rolling there. We'll see. But it's going to be interesting what the timeline is for that, because the transfer portal opens on April 7th. Do they want to get that in? Do they want to get that going right away? Do they want to, wait? I doubt they want to wait. He talked a lot about how this could be, they expect results, quickly. So that's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out, as the transfer portal season goes and the, postseason goes, and how he fills out his staff and roster.
How about you, Rich? General vibes from the presser?
I think at first he was definitely a little bit nervous, but I mean, rightfully so. I mean, you're sitting in front of a crowd of like maybe 100 people, probably, give or take. So it definitely a little nervous at first, but I think he kind of got into his own groove. And then once it came to the questions, that's where he really started to just kind of be himself and talk about like what he wants. He joked around saying like, hopefully Kim Mulkey just stops revealing secrets because they're secrets for a reason. But then again, it's really not that big of a secret when she gets removed from LSU's website completely. Yep. So it was like, yeah. But overall, I thought
Dapney Mitchell as an assistant, by the way, guys.
Yeah, which we confirmed this weekend. Alec put a nice little article up about her. I mean, I thought everything was pretty good. It seems like a new era for Rutgers women's basketball. A lot of hype to start out, which I feel like we always say when there's ever a new coach. But I do think it's going to head in the right direction. Well, put it like this: they really can't go much lower. So like it's only up from here.
And normally we play these kind of pressers, especially when we're talking about like a game presser, but it's over a half hour. We're going to just kind of talk about it instead. And, you can watch the full video on our YouTube page on, if you just search, if you're watching this, you already know where it is, but if you just look at our videos, the full introductory press conference is there if you want to listen afterwards. But generally, like, what did you guys think of him? You guys, you said he was a little bit nervous, but did he pass the vibes check? What are your thoughts after hearing him talk for a little over a half an hour? Rich, I'll let you start.
I'll say the vibes check definitely in check out, like for the press conference, because I do think, again, I think he's nervous. Like he's reading through his little speech that he had and all that. Paused for a little bit, flipped the paper. He's like, oh, okay, that's the next word. Like, here we go. But I think when we got to talk to him afterwards, he opened up a little bit more. He was a lot more like a person instead of like in front of the camera. And I think putting the camera in front of people always changes things. Like, honestly, like I hated doing even like these podcasts when we first started. I was just like, dude, I don't want to talk to people. Like they're going to look at me and they're like, whoa, that guy's an idiot. And like, they probably still say that, but that's not the point. But yeah, I think after talking to him a little bit more up close and personal, just messing around with him and talking hoops in general, like he seems like he says the right things. He's very confident in his recruiting abilities. And that's where I'm really eager to see what he can do this transfer portal window. They're going to have a good amount of money. It sounds like someone asked him about their NIL in comparison to LSU's NIL. And he basically said, yeah, we're right there. We're going to be just as competitive. And I'm like,
really?
Wait, repeat that. Say that again, because I'm really curious about that one. And then we talked to someone on the side that is in the athletic department. Obviously, not going to reveal names or anything like that, but they said the same thing. They're like, we will be up there with the SECs and the Big Tens of the world. And I was like, oh, okay, well, shit, maybe this is going to be really interesting then, because if he has those recruiting abilities that he's hyping up and talking about, between talking to President Tate too, he's going to be all in on this women's hoops program. I think that this is Kelly Zinn's first hire. She's going to be all in on it. She wants to make this work 100%. I think there's a lot of hype, and I think that this offseason could be huge for that women's program. And it would not shock me if they're close to the bubble next year, to be honest with you, if it all goes to plan. Now, a lot of things still have to fall into place, roster building and all that stuff included, but having their own GM is a huge thing too. I'm really confident in what he can do here, and I'm eager to see what he can do at Rutgers. And see how good this program can be. Can it get back to that C. Vivian Stringer middle/early years when she was the coach, where they were going for Sweet 16s and Final Fours even? I don't know if I'm going to say Final Four next year, but again, if they get close to the bubble, that's a huge jump.
Yeah, how about you, Alec? He passed the vibes check. I know he did confirm in one of his questions that the swag will be making its way to New Jersey in terms of his outfits. He said his wife is his stylist, so I'm sure Rutgers fans are excited to hear about that. But would you just generally think of him as a dude in general?
I am very happy to hear about that. I apologize. I haven't been totally paying attention because we did just get some breaking news on the women's basketball side.
Play the ESPN.
The lone 2026 signee for the program at a high school this year, Shantae Murray from Canada. She has decommitted from Rutgers and has signed with West Virginia. That just came out. The Mountaineers actually announced.
Kelly is not going to be happy about that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just putting out my story and all that stuff now. It actually just came out like a couple of minutes ago, as in 20 minutes ago. So that is you're really starting over as a whole. Yeah, that's kind of all I got for that. I just put out my story. So I was working on that while Richie was answering the question, so I wasn't totally paying attention.
I said some really good things. You just missed it all.
Oh man, whatever. Yeah, I definitely think the vibes were good. I do love that the style stuff is going to stay there. And yeah, I think you said a lot of good. Sorry, my mind is scrambled right now with all the news. But
you know what? Instead of scrambling your mind even more, tell me about if it's a bad thing or a good thing. I don't even know that they're starting from scratch. That Shantae Murray's gone.
I like her as a prospect. I think she definitely impressed me on the Canadian side. Let's see. I'm just putting it out there on Twitter now.
We do have a fan in the queue here. I'm going to bring up while you're
let them go first while I put out the news.
Rutgers #1 fan. That's your title. What do you got for us? I think you might have to rejoin Rutgers #1 fan. I think you chose to not share your audio, so we can't hear anything. But if you wanted to hop back in, and we would gladly bring you back on stage. But we do have
Rutgers
Craig Epstein, who's Rutgers #2 fan in the queue. Craig, did you have a chance to catch up with any of the press conference from today of Gary Redus getting introduced?
Unfortunately not. I'll watch it later, but I did see bits and pieces of his quotes throughout the day, and I think just the one that really caught my eye was the fact that he said he thinks they can turn this thing around quickly, which I think is just welcome news from from all Rutgers women's basketball fans. The fact that a lot of times when a new guy takes over really a program that was just really, I mean, you could argue this is one of the worst Power 4 jobs that was available. But the fact that he thinks
hold on, time out.
Whoa.
This is arguably the best job that was available before it got taken.
Well, they were
this
in
cycle.
Right now, it's the best. It was the best job available. There's no question about it.
Okay, I'm just I guess I'm thinking more of a perspective of just how bad they were. I guess from a building it up standpoint, it wasn't that bad, but they were just really, really bad. But no, the fact that he says he can turn this thing around quickly, I think is welcome news. And like you said, it looks like he has the NIL backing and he has that LSU kind of pedigree to that. Hopefully he will be able to turn this thing around quickly. And I'm just curious from Alec and everybody else's perspective, turning around quickly, does that mean tournament next year, or does that mean kind of respectability next year, year after? What's kind of, I guess, the bar that we're looking at here?
I don't think they really addressed that in the presser. I mean, I don't think you can expect the tournament. I think you got to show a competitive product on the court, like no more last place finishes. Show like the way that, Steve Pikiell's first few years, like it's not like Steve came on and had like a breakout season, but they showed some feistiness. They won some games in the Big Ten tournament. I think you got to kind of have a similar situation there. And given Redus is known for his recruiting, maybe a big recruiting win. But in general, that's kind of what my thought is for year one of under Redus. You just want to see tangible improvement, more effort, because he talked over and over about like changing the general attitude of the program, and not attitude from just like poutiness, but attitude from the sense of like every single day you have to like reinforce the winning culture that you want to see throughout the program. And I remember who asked, I think it was Andrew Rice asked specifically, like, how do you do that like day by day? And Redus said essentially like, that's how you do it day by day. It's something you have to constantly reinforce until it becomes second nature. And then you kind of build from there. But Rich, I'm bringing this up because this was your question to him. How you asked him, you came to Rutgers, you agreed to come to Rutgers sight unseen, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, no, I basically just said, I was like, hey, like you didn't like visit the facilities beforehand. And we know like some coaches have done that in the past, specifically he who shall not be named from the football program. And when he came and looked at the football program, now it was a totally different football program than what it is now. Like I remember talking with I'll just say his name. God damn it. I can't say it. I have to say it, but Chris Ash. When he was at Rutgers, when he first came to campus, I remember him talking about how he walked into the practice facility. And I think this is even before the Marco Battaglia facility. And he walked in and he was like, yeah, there's like this storage container over here. And it's just full of gear and tickets and all kinds of random nonsense. Whereas it's a little bit different this time around, especially with women's basketball, because they have their own practice facility. They have their own court. They have this whole brand new facility. And he basically hyped it up to the point where he said, now I'm not going to quote verbatim, but he said something along the lines of like, if I can't sell people on this thing, like, I don't know how I'm ever going to sell people, because like this thing is beautiful. And the more you see it in person, it's so much nicer than what you see in the photos on online and everything like that. So it is interesting. I think it's an easy selling point. Now, I tried to throw in the Jersey Mike's thing out there because I think we can all agree Jersey Mike's atmosphere is insane when it's packed. Women's basketball, I think it's very obvious. It hasn't been packed the past couple of years. So he wants to sell them out. He wants to get people in the stands. I'm just eager to see like what this team's going to look like. I'm really eager to see this offseason more than anything, because I really do think between NIL, between everything else, his recruiting abilities, they're going to put together a really good product next year. Now, Craig mentioned like March Madness. Probably not. I don't think that's feasible to just do that in a single year, but who knows? Honestly, with basketball, you get 2-3 players and all of a sudden you're a competitive tournament team.
Yeah. And it's clear that he's looking to bring in coaches from some top programs. Obviously, Daphne Mitchell, we've confirmed, has agreed to come on as an assistant. That obviously is one of the things he jokingly said. I just want Coach Mulkey to stop, putting all my business out there. But it seems like that's all but official. We've talked about how he's got some other top assistants kind of in the hopper as well. You got to imagine you're pulling coaches from the top programs in the country. You're probably going to pull some players from them too.
I also just really like the fact that now I saw Sullivan is going to just be for men's, and then they're going to have their own GM for women's. I just think that's just cleaner to me. It's the fact that like I feel like just having too much on the GM's plate for having to be at the beck and whim of kind of the men's and women's. Now it feels more to me. It just kind of feels more, I guess, big time. That it's like, okay, this is women's, this is men's, and just kind of focus on your lane, and hopefully, better things will be in store for the future.
Let's kind of discuss some of what was said. What were some of the questions that really stood out? Maybe not the questions, maybe the answers. Rich, I'll let you start. What was something that was either said during it, or you were just surprised by the answer, if you have any? You're muted, Rich.
Was saying really good things, I swear. But I would say the biggest surprise was probably the NIL question, and I can't stress this one enough. Someone asked him about NIL and how it's compared to LSU. I know I just kind of said this, but I'm going to rehash everything I just said again. Saying that you have comparative or competitive money compared to LSU is insane to me. But if it's true, it's true at the end of the day. We know President Tate we talked to as well today, and Kelly's in, and everyone's just been hyping up the amount of money that they've been able to raise for football, whether it's and maybe we didn't see it as much with football this offseason specifically, but they did spend a lot on retention, which a lot of people don't remember too. But I think in terms of NIL, like they're going to be able to spend with the big dogs, like at least for women's basketball. We haven't heard a ton about men's. Now we've heard some numbers here and there. And it sounds like they'll be like lower middle of the pack in a Big Ten for men's. But for women's basketball, it sounds like they're going all in on this. Like they are going to make this a thing that a show that people want to go watch. Like, and it's going to be a very talented program. His recruiting abilities on top of the money, I really do think that he's going to attack the hell out of this portal. And I wouldn't be surprised if, when it's all said and done, Rutgers women's basketball's portal haul would be in the top 20. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all.
And that's primarily going to be based around volume, would you expect? Because they're going to have to bring in so many players from the portal.
Yeah, probably more so volume than anything else. But at the same time, like, I think they're going to be talented players. Like, I think you're going to see girls that are transferring in, they're averaging 15 plus per game at other schools. And you're going to be like, whoa, where the hell do these people come from? And it's like women's basketball. He said it's an easy. The other thing is, he said, someone asked him about all the banners on the wall, whether it's all the WNBA players, whether it's all of the accomplishments that the program has had in the past. And he said, it's honestly just an easy selling point. Like, you can just be like, look, they've done it here before. Look at all the talent around this area. His big focus is going to be about not expanding the state of Rutgers, but keeping the state of Rutgers home. And if you can keep those local kids home, the sky's the limit. We've said this for just about every single sport known to man.
Yeah.
You can keep the New Jersey, the New York, the Pennsylvania, the Maryland kids in this region and make them stay at Rutgers. There's no reason why Rutgers could not win national championships in just about any single sport.
Yeah, and Froggy7 said, thanks for the extra insights on that, Richie. Appreciate you guys. TKR is easily my number one spot to keep up with RU news. Appreciate you saying that, Froggy7335. Alec, what was something that stood out to you that Coach Redus had to say during his presser?
One thing that, for me at least, was when he talked about, what it's going to look like on the floor and just kind of with the roster as a whole. His focus is absolutely on just getting the top talent, and from there they will, work around that top talent. That was really the focus that I took away from him, talking about, we're going to get the top talent is what is let them work. I think is kind of the takeaway that I had. So he's definitely going to still focus a lot on that recruiting aspect. How they continue to bring in, or how he can continue to help bring in top talent. And again, that'll help if they have the money to do so. Just kind of the focus on bringing in, some of the best players in the country, whether, throughout class or in the portal or at high school or anything like that. And we've already kind of seen this, with some of the offers that he's already sent out, a couple of really high caliber prospects in the 2027 and 28 classes. And William Tate kind of confirmed that, where his wording was actually pretty funny when he was talking about it. He said, he said, women's basketball, we're going to see what happens when the portal opens up. If it's G going to be G, obviously G meaning Gary Redus. If he is who I think he is, they'll be more talented. He'll be more competitive. That's the bottom line. And that's immediately he's talking about quick turnaround again. And then he also added, and he'll be on 2027 like white on rice, which I thought was a good addition as well. We've already seen that with some offers that they sent out. So the big takeaway for me and a lot of what he was talking about was just getting that top talent. And it's going to revolve around the talent. I think that was the big takeaway. It's going to revolve around bringing in the best players, and then, we're going from there. But priority number one is bringing in the best players, which sounds very simple and, kind of obvious if you want to be a good basketball team. But when you kind of look deeper into it, like, you're going to bring in, top talent. You're going to recruit top talent. And then he did mention they want to play fast. He wants to space the floor, things like that, which is all good things, when you're talking about it. So we'll see how it goes in practice.
And Andrew, I don't know if you missed the beginning when he was asked about the facilities. Richie asked him a question about how he agreed to become Rutgers head coach, kind of sight unseen, without being on campus, without seeing the rack or without seeing the APC. And, he said he saw some pictures and stuff, but like when he actually saw it in person, he was blown away. Like, he's been a lot of places, and Rutgers facilities kind of stand, amongst anything he's been a part of. So he was very complimentary about the facilities for the women's basketball program. You guys also had a chance after the presser to speak with him one-on-one, and you also had the opportunity to speak with Kelly Zinn and to speak with President Tate. I'll start with Redus while we're still on the topic. Alec, he had a very, interesting anecdote about I guess your name has been rattling around the halls of the APC and around the RAC with regard to the program. That was a pretty cool moment for you.
Yeah, he said he's definitely heard some things about me, and I said I hope good things, and he said yeah, sure. So I hope he's heard good things about me. So we'll see how that works itself out. But yeah, that was very funny, and definitely was not expecting that. Like right after the scrum, him being like, "Yeah, I've heard about you," and no, I can't say I was expecting that.
Because I think you were the only non-student media who covered every game this year for the women's team, right?
And the previous 3 years, or 2
in the previous 3 years, yeah.
He did miss that one game towards the end of the season. Just saying.
Which now you got me going back.
I'm just messing with you. Like no one else goes to the
never.
games but you. It was
never.
you. You were the only one, and even Zin said something to you.
Yes, she said she gave me some praise for covering the team as well. So,
Yeah, love to hear it. What did he say in that scrum that stood out to you guys in terms of Redus? Rich, I'll let you start.
Basically, like everything I've already kind of rehashed. I think the NIL thing stands out more than anything. The GM one was actually kind of interesting because I did ask Kelly about the GM situation, and I didn't expect such a direct answer immediately. I thought she would kind of play it off, but she did admit that they're going to hire two GM. Oh, no, they're going to hire one GM. They already have a GM in Rob Sullivan that's going to switch to strictly men's basketball. And kind of like what Craig said before, I think that's the right way to go about it. Now, there's some people on our board, some people on social media that are already like, well, we're wasting more money. And it's like, dude, yeah, okay, sure. And they're like, they're in debt. Like, oh, why are they doing this? And it's like, dude, if you don't do this, you're not going to be a competitive program. So stop. Either act like a serious program or don't. And they're acting like a serious athletic department. And I think it kind of, the way he talked about the GM role, and he was saying like, hey, it's like the legwork of the analytics and stuff like that in the background. And he's like, I did a lot of that when I was at LSU. I need someone that can do that legwork for me. And he kind of hinted that he already knows who it is. If I had to guess between the GM role, between the staff assistant roles, the way he kept talking about it made it seem like he already knows who it is. It's already like on paper. It's already done, basically. It just hasn't become public yet. Now, we've hinted at a bunch of names. Like we know Daphne Mitchell's already like unofficially official kind of as an assistant coach. It wouldn't shock me if like Roman Tubner's on that staff. It wouldn't shock me if his sister from FAU's on that staff. It wouldn't shock her on that staff. As terms of his GM role, I don't really know who it's going to be. And maybe Alec, maybe you do. I don't know. Like we kind of thrown a bunch of names out there. It seems like he knows who's going to do what role already. Everything's essentially set in place, not written in pen. It's written in pencil right now, basically. And it's all done and good to go. And I think that's the thing that stood out to me the most is that he's ready to go. He's ready to attack this portal. He knows what he has money-wise. He knows what he has assistant coaching-wise. He knows who he's already going to target. He already sent out, 5 or 6 different offers in high school ranks. He's already high school recruiting. He's not even in New Jersey yet, technically. Said he'll be up here soon, like full-time officially. But kind of going back to what Pikel said about the Crown, like phone works everywhere. You can kind of just keep calling people wherever you're at. Doesn't matter if you're down in LSU in Louisiana or if you're in New Jersey. So I do think his staff and everything's pretty much set in place. And that's kind of the thing that, other than the NIL stuff, that really stood out to me.
I also thought one thing that was interesting that stuck out to me, he had said that he originally was going to stay and coach LSU during its tournament run, but then, Kim Mulkey kind of said kind of like what she said publicly on I think it was either a podcast or a radio interview where it was like, I saw that, Richie, you kind of, you got to put your focus on your next job at Rutgers. So that is an interesting tidbit that we kind of heard at first that he might have been staying on at LSU, which I think he made the right decision in the end. And he also said, like, I didn't disagree with Coach Mulkey that, I kind of needed to get started here, get ready to go, because again, the off season, it really never sleeps. Like, yeah, the portal technically opens on April 7th, but it's been open since like December. So you really got to get on the horn quickly. And, nobody will ever, nobody within the program will ever actually say it, but the portal's been open for months now.
To be fair, when we talked to President Tate, he basically said it.
That's true. President Tate said it. Yes, he did say that as much, but I think that was the right decision. But it was interesting that he was originally going to wait until LSU season was over to come up and really get it going.
I feel like someone really smart in this little group posted on the boards that he was going to stay. And then obviously, so it does confirm what that really smart person did post on the boards.
Who's that?
I don't know. I never heard of him. Richie something. Guy changes his last name every year, so who knows?
Oh my gosh. You guys also got Kelly Zinn and President Tate. Anything specific either one of them said that stood out to you in that post interview or that post press conference scrum?
Alec, me, you.
I know you guys, well, we could talk about Tate since you guys were talking, just like the general bravado that he brings, like the aura of President Tate is just like fills a room. You guys want to talk a little bit about what President Tate had to say?
He was not shy to say anything at all. And that's I love hearing from this guy because he's not afraid to put it all on the table. He was very entertaining to talk with. He talked about a lot of different things. Because he was asked not just about women's basketball, but also about football and men's basketball. And he said he personally loved the fact that that on the men's side, they accepted the college basketball crown, which we can talk about later. But he said he loved to hear that because I believe his words were that means that they've got dogs who want to play. That said something to me. Those guys said, we want to keep playing. That's what you want. That's what he was talking about. You want dogs that want to play. That's what this is about. So I thought that was interesting. He's always entertaining. Like, I don't know if Richie, you had any other big things that took away. Also he was asked, I forget who asked the question, but he was asked, how much involvement did he have in this search? And then he started talking about how, how involved he was with women's basketball at LSU. He talked about how, Angel Reese visited his office, and he's a Maryland guy, and Angel Reese had transferred from Maryland to LSU. So, he was a little bittersweet to see that. But he talked a lot about just the involvement that he had in women's basketball and things like that. So he's a fun guy to talk to, man. I really enjoy it. I wish he would talk more, honestly. Maybe some people don't, just for the sake of does he say too much? But I wish he would talk more because I love hearing him speak.
I think the best way to describe it is he's just electric when he enters a room.
Yeah.
He like Mike said, the aura thing, he walks up to you and it's like, all right, we're doing an interview, whatever. It's a little scrum. It's just going to say go right by the book. And it's like, nope, completely off the cuff. Just this and that. And it's like, oh yeah, Rutgers football. They just hired those two coaches, the two head coaches, and they brought them in. And I love how they did that. I'm so intrigued to see what this defensive scheme is going to look like. And I did think it was interesting about the football question specifically, and not to go too off topic because this was supposed to be strictly about women's basketball and basketball in general. But he did say he didn't really give a expectation for next season. He goes, I think scheme wise they'll be better, but record wise we'll wait and see. And then he comes out and just straight up says I think Vegas is wrong. And it's like, okay, yes.
Somebody listen to the pod.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, no, I do agree with you, President Tate. I do think Vegas is kind of weird with the 4.5. I think we all agreed 5.5 when we were spitballing the numbers before it came out. But
yep.
I thought he's completely off the cuff. He just says what he feels, and I love that about him. The Angel Reese thing was hilarious just because he, again, Maryland grad, and he's like, oh yeah, he's a Maryland grad, but I want to understand Maryland, but I'm an LSU now, so come on, get to LSU. We got a chance at her. I think was his wording was we have a chance at Angel Reese. Oh my God, make it happen. He's all in on everything.
It's ironic too because her Angel Reese's brother Julian Reese played for Maryland, so yeah. I'm sure Tate has a soft spot for Julian Reese.
Yeah, no, he's great though, man. I can't stress enough about how much I can't wait to one of the most exciting interviews I think I've ever had at Rutgers in general. Just talking to him today, and I can't wait to transcribe it and throw it in an article, and people are gonna read the quotes and be like, "What? He said that?" And it's like, "Yep, he said that. He doesn't care." But he's all about
making up quotes. No, he said that.
Yeah. He's all about winning. That's all he cares about. And I know everyone keeps talking about his quote, and it's what was it? It was I forget what the question was, but his response was win. Just win. And it's just, he honestly lives by that. Everything he says, everything he does, he thinks Rutgers can win championships. And we've heard it from previous presidents, but I don't think there's ever been a president that's this invested in athletics as he is. And that's the best. That's the beauty of it from at least our perspective, because when you have that alignment that everyone likes to talk about, You truly have it at Rutgers for the first time, maybe ever, between president, between AD, between football coach, basketball coach, women's basketball coach, baseball coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to do whatever it takes to win, and he's all on board and doing whatever he can do to help that way.
Yeah, no, it's been quite a journey from the days of having President Barchi here, who literally could not give less of a what about sports in general. And he was here for a specific reason. That was to integrate the medical school, and that was his expertise, and he did a good job doing that. But after his expiration date was done, you got President Holloway, who was significantly warmer towards sports as a former athlete himself. But yeah, President Tate just takes it up to the next level. He is not just like supportive of sports. He almost sees it as like one of the pillars of a university, which is honestly how you should approach sports when you're in a Power 2 conference. So glad to see that kind of attitude from President Tate, because it's what we need. And that's the only way we're going to actually progress as an athletics department, is if we have that kind of support from the top down.
It's the greatest sponsorship you can probably give from a college standpoint, is if you see a team, see a team constantly win, you're like, oh, if you're, that means a lot to a kid growing up and being a part of, or seeing their, growing up favorite a college team win. That's where they eventually usually want to go. So if you can build a consistent, nobody wants to, attach themselves to what they view as a loser. So just build a consistent winner. And if you build it, they'll come.
Put it like this. I feel like obviously Kelly's the director of athletics. Tate's like the associate AD, basically. Like, he is just so involved. He loves everything about it. He wants to make them successful, and he'll do whatever it takes.
And then Kelly's in, you guys got to speak to as well. What were some of the things that she had to say? Anything that stood out to either of you guys from when you spoke to her?
Kind of the same thing, just rehashing everything. Like, the GM thing was interesting to me. She did say that Gary Redus was her first offer and only offer for the head coaching candidate. She said that there were 8 candidates, which is interesting too. So we know Tammy Reese was somewhere on that list. We know there were some others on that list. But yeah, I mean, it was like one offer done. Here we go. She knew Gary Redus was the guy. She did say, like, despite the head coaching experience, it didn't really matter to her. She knew he was ready. He was more than prepared. He had the roster breakdown when he was talking to her about everything about the job and all that. He had his own coaching staff ready to go. He did say that to us too. He's like, I have my coaching staff for when I'm ready, when I got that opportunity. So again, it goes back to what I was saying before. Like, he is ready to go. He has everything down to a science of what he wants to do, who he wants to work with, who he's going to bring on with him. And it was mostly like, here's what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. And she was like, looks pretty damn good to me.
Yeah, I think the one thing that she said in particular about the lack of head coaching experience, the wording that she used was, let's see, I'm trying to find it in the transcript, where she said, I should say, I'm trying to look, but again, still some crazy stuff. Let's see. I can't find the exact wording, but basically, like, experience and job titles and all that, the job title does not define the leadership, and the experience of the leadership doesn't totally define the competence, was, I believe, the wording she used. But basically what she was trying to say was, just because you haven't been in that head coaching chair yet doesn't mean you're not ready for it from a leadership standpoint. And obviously the impression that she got was this guy is ready and has been preparing to be ready for a while. So that was the biggest thing that kind of stuck out to me. Again, his like she talked about, and like I think Tate commented this as well, that he was just prepared throughout the process to really embrace this opportunity and take full advantage of it. I'm trying to think of anything else that we talked with her about. I'm trying to think anything else. Obviously the GM that she mentioned, again, like Richie said, I was surprised that she just came out and said it. That there was, I assumed she was going to say something like, we're going to take a look at it. Like, she does for a lot of different things. She'll say, we'll take a look at it and see what the best course of action is. But she just came right out and said it. So obviously she knew what the best course of action was. And I thought it was interesting. She also mentioned that her and Gary never really talked about the head coaching job, or many head coaching jobs, until this one opened up. So it wasn't really like a she'd been, eyeing, I'm sure she'd been eyeing him for a while, but they hadn't been in talks until it officially opened up. So just kind of interesting to see how they talk about it going down in like the background and things like that. Because again, this is a relatively quick coaching hire. I know, especially at Rutgers, but even just in general, it was done in 6 days. It was pretty much done in 6 days
We're used to 60.
Right. Yeah. But even like the grand scheme on the national side, like you don't like Northwestern. Joe McEwen has said he was going to retire for, since last year. And Northwestern doesn't have a head coach yet. Penn State doesn't, and they, I think, made a change like 2 days after Rutgers did. I think Boston College, like all the other high majors, they don't have they don't have their candidate locked down yet. Rutgers got this done really quickly, so I'm sure the familiarity helped, but just really interesting to see how it all happened.
Well, this goes back to what I was saying before to Craig. Like, this was the top job available. Like, Rutgers women's basketball around the world, whether it was bad the past 3-4 years or whatever. You could even probably extend that timeline a little bit longer, but it still has so much history to it that it's such an attractive spot. Like, there's 2 Hall of Fame head coaches before the one that just struggled a little bit. Like, it is a very good job. Like, you look on the wall and even in the banners, like this isn't hating on men's basketball by any means, but like when you go in the men's facility and the women's facility, there's just 20,000 banners compared to the men's facility, which only has a couple. Mm-hmm. It has so much history behind the program, and he mentioned that all in the press conference too. Whether it's the Coyle twins, Teresa Grants, C. Vivian Stringer, like all the players behind him, where you see all the banners of all the WNBA players that played for C. Vivian Stringer. Like they've made Final Fours. Like it is an insane program when it comes to the historical perspective, and then it makes it an easy sell to people too.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And he knew a lot about the Rutgers women's basketball history. He said he grew up on Rutgers women's basketball. Not sure I necessarily agree with that as a kid from Alabama, but it was a good anecdote. And it sounds like he was a big sports fan. Somebody asked him, I think it was Brian Fonseca, asked him if he ever gave baseball a shot, given that his father was a former Major League Baseball player. And he said baseball was never really his thing. It was always basketball. He, I think I think his sister's older than him. So he kind of grew up watching her play, and that's kind of what made him want to play. And he played obviously in college and overseas. But I thought that was funny that it's funny how some kids like 100% take after their parents in one way or another. Like their teams become, their kids' teams, and others, it's like the total opposite. Like what dad does is lame. I don't want anything to do with it. And that sounds more like his baseball takes. He just never really got into the sport.
Yeah, 100%.
What else? Did we miss anything, guys, before we move on to some men's basketball discussion?
Trying to think.
I think someone asked him about. Go on. You want to go?
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say I don't think we missed anything, but
I think someone asked him about being in the Northeast and like living most of your life, at least coaching and playing, has been in the South, whether it's Alabama, he was at West Georgia, Delta State, like et cetera, et cetera. It's always been down South. But he did say he's like, I bounced around a little bit in when his dad was a baseball player, which makes a lot of sense, of course. Like you're just gonna live with your dad, you're gonna go wherever he's at. He was in Pittsburgh for a little bit. So I mean, it's not necessarily this region of the Northeast, but it is still the Northeast. So it's not all that unfamiliar to him. But he does know that there's talent up here. I mean, he's recruited at LSU. He's recruited it elsewhere. Like it's well known that the Northeast produces basketball talent arguably better than anyone in the country. Look at the quote tweet that Alec put out yesterday or today even. With just the New Jersey girls in the NCAA tournament alone. And that's just one little region. And there's like, 17 of them?
I wanted to touch on that because so for those who may not know, in the women's NCAA tournament, the first and second rounds are hosted by the top 4 seeds. So in one of the regions, the little pod, I guess, where the Ann Arbor pod, I don't think it's actually called a pod, but that's what I'm calling it for this discussion's sake, where it's the 7 seed versus 10 seed, which is NC State versus Tennessee. And then the 2-15, which is Michigan versus Holy Cross. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 players and a coach from New Jersey. The coach being the head coach of Holy Cross is from New Jersey, I believe from Rumson. So you got Ashley Sofilcanic from St. John Vianney. There's actually a lot of St. John Vianney in this matchup. Tayala Delphos, who went to Ewing for Michigan. On NC State, you got Zoe Brooks, who also went to St. John Vianney, and then Devin Quigley, who's from Manchester. Tennessee, you got the Paldo twins, both from Morris Catholic. And then on Holy Cross alone, you got Meg Kaelan, I hope I'm not butchering that name, but Janie Bachman, also from St. John Vianney, Mary Elizabeth Donnelly from Manasquan, and Mackenzie Teven from Holmdel. That's a lot of New Jersey connections. And you look all across the country and all across the NCAA tournament, three of the All-Americans that were announced from the USBWA today alone are from New Jersey. You got Michaela Blakes, who's from Somerset and obviously went to Rutgers Prep, not too far down the street. You got Hannah Hidalgo, who went to Paul VI, I believe, down in South Jersey, and is from, down south. And then you got Olivia Miles, who I believe is from Phillipsburg originally. I want to make sure I get that right. But that's just kind of scratching the surface of the talent in New Jersey. Red Bank Catholic, absolutely stacked. St. John Vianney, as you could probably tell, absolutely stacked. This is a region that you have to tap into. And I think I actually don't know if we talked about this at all, but he was asked about the region, the New Jersey tri-state area region. And he said, that's going to be priority number one. He said, they're going to recruit nationally, but, keeping the top talent home, which is obviously a question that gets asked to every single Rutgers coach, no matter what. That is going to be a priority, keeping the talent home. And Olivia Miles is originally born in Summit, then lived in Phillipsburg and went to Blair Academy. So obviously New Jersey native as well. But that was one of the things that actually I forgot to touch on, that recruiting New Jersey is going to be home. And that is essential because I feel like in girls basketball, more than most sports, like even football, I would say, of the major sports in college athletics are, they have a huge nucleus of talent, especially now. Like you look at let's take a look at On3's recruiting rankings in the state of New Jersey in 2026.
Well, who's the Rutgers prep girl that they hosted? We can go back and kind of talk about that too.
So that was Gigi Battle, who played at Rutgers Prep for a couple of years and then went down to DME Academy in Florida.
So for context, she took an official visit, and I'm kind of just rehashing what you've already said on the pod previously. Maybe not today, but yeah. So when she took an official visit to Rutgers, I remember Coquise going up to Kelly's Inn at the time and saying like, hey, like, I don't know if you could help us out, but she wants like X this amount, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, all right. We didn't know it was specifically Gigi Battle, but the timeline kind of lines up a little bit. So it has to be her basically. And Kelly's like, yeah, well, that's what you want. Yeah, we can make that work. If we can't make that work, and then there goes back to the quote, send me back to the bayou. And
yeah,
I mean, if they can make the money work for her, like they're going to make the money work for multiple people. Now, maybe it's not as easy to sell under Coquise, who was struggling, versus Gary Redus, who, hey, look at this bling I got right here. See this ring? We can get a ring right here at Rutgers down the street from home. Let's do it.
Yeah, so this past year, you had the Paldo twins. Let's see. Mia was ranked 14th in the class. Maya was ranked 56th in the class. 2026, you got Addie Niemczek. I hope I'm not butchering her name, but McDonald's All-American, going to Indiana, signed, plays for Red Bank Catholic. And then on St. John Vianney, you got Stella Lockhart and Taylor Sofocanic, who is the sister of Ashley Sofocanic, who their father was also a pretty damn good high school football coach for all over the state as well, by the way. Taylor Sofocanic is signed at Duke. Stella Lockhart signed at Georgetown. And then there's some really good, 2027. You got Addie Platt from Gil St. Bernard's, who signed this year, who signed at St. Joe's. You got, there's New Jersey talent up and down. Like there's so many players that I've covered this year that I almost can't even remember some of them. Like right down the road for me, I can think of, like Aaliyah Sunkins at Franklin, who's a really solid 6-foot wing. So it's just prioritizing New Jersey. That was the thing that kind of stuck out to me. And I know every coach kind of has to say it as like we're going to recruit New Jersey because you're the State University of New Jersey, whatever. But it really did seem like that is going to be a priority. And especially someone of his caliber of recruiter, it's a very important thing that you kind of have to nail pretty much if you want to succeed is, get the best in the area and keep them here. Because again, you look all across the country, there are loads of New Jersey players and talented New Jersey players all over.
Let's transition to a little bit of men's hoops talk, because some big news, of course, broke yesterday after we got done recording. The men's team has accepted an invitation to play in the Crown tournament, which is held the first week in April out in Las Vegas. Rutgers' opening round opponent will be Creighton, who I think went 15-17 this past year, but has one of the highest percentage of their shot attempts from beyond the arc in the nation. Not a great matchup, but it's more basketball, and it sounds like the whole team wanted to play more games, as alluded to by the President Tate comments, where he was super excited that he had those kind of competitors on the team. What are your guys' thoughts on Rutgers accepting a bid to the crown? Because we talked a lot about it last night on Danny Breslauer's Spaces. Shout out to Danny for hosting that. And it was very mixed, people's response to whether or not we should be playing this. Should we be preparing for next year? I'll let you start, Craig. What are your thoughts on Rutgers accepting a bid to play in the crown? And do you think it's the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like you think about it, it's like as long as it doesn't get in the way of off-season plans, like it's fine. Like it's just extra basketball that we'll watch at 10:30 at night in a TV that there's probably gonna be like nobody in the building, and it's like it'd almost be like almost like a scrimmage, but it will count. It will count. But as long as it doesn't get in the way of off-season plans, I think it's fine. And I don't really expect it to. I think we all know what the plan, at least what the plan should be going to the offseason that we talked about in the last pod. That first off, I think is just find that big man and keep some guys around. And I think as long as it doesn't prohibit them from doing any other things, which if it did, I expect they wouldn't do it. But they put it to a vote, and most, if not everybody, wanted to do it. So, I mean, more basketball isn't the worst thing in the world.
How about you, Rich? What are your thoughts on them accepting a crown invitation?
I think when I first got word of it, a little bit before, obviously, it got announced, hence why the article came out like that. But yeah.
People might think you can write that fast.
Yeah, I'm really that good. Let me tell you. But I think at first my first thought was like, why? Just get it over with. Like we know who's leaving, who's staying. And after talking to some people today too, that's kind of still the same feeling of like who's leaving and who's staying, and they kind of already know who's going to do what already. But in terms of getting the whole team to agree to it, and that was Pikel's thing, he got everyone to unanimously say yes that they're going to do it. I don't really mind it. Also, it's not like the NIT where you have to spend a bunch of money to do this and travel and all that. It's all expenses paid. So let's just throw that one out the window. Like anyone that complains about Rutgers spending too much money, they don't have to spend a dime to get there. They don't have to spend a dime to sleep there. They don't have to spend a dime to do anything, basically. On top of that, each player is getting around $20,000 to $30,000. You tell me I'm getting $20,000 to $30,000 to maybe play one game in like 100%. That's like, do that hourly rate there. Like that's like what, a 2.5 hour game? That's a pretty good payday. So anyone would probably say yes to that, I think. And the competition's not like the NIT where it's also bad. Like you lose to a Hofstra, that's a little bit of a stink on the program a little bit. You lose to a Creighton or a Big 12 school or another Big 10 school. It's like, all right, well, you know what? It happens. It is what it is. It's another Power 4 high major school. So I don't think even if you lose, it's really not that bad. As long as, again, like Craig said, as long as it really doesn't affect your portal stuff, which it really shouldn't in reality, because unless you're making the championship, which even if you make the championship, you still have 2 days before that portal opens. But in reality, going back to what President Tate said to us today, the portal might open that April 7th day, but in reality, it's going on right now. Like we're talking about the portal right now. People are tampering left and right. If you're not tampering, you're not going to land recruits, honestly. So I do think it doesn't really matter all that much. And like Pikel said, like, hey, like the phone works everywhere. The phone works in Las Vegas. The phone works here. Hell, the phone sometimes even works on the airplane if you pay that $10.99. So it doesn't really matter. I feel like. Flying? Oh, I got T-Mobile, so I get free Wi-Fi. So it doesn't matter.
There you go.
But, anyway, not the point. Yeah, bougie T-Mobile. But it's a pretty good field. I do find it funny that every single Fox personality quote tweeted it and is like, "Wow, this is a great field." And I'm like, how much you get paid to do that? Like, just kidding. You're under contract with Fox. It makes sense. Like Pat McAfee quote tweeted it. All the Barstool guys quote tweeted it because they have that new Barstool TV show in the morning. Like it's just, it was funny from that aspect, but it's a good field. Like honestly. And then if you win, you get $50,000. You win again, you get $100,000. You win again and win the whole thing, you get $300,000. So there's incentives behind it. You're going to play your ass off to try to win that money. Now, is it a ton of money between a team? 300,000 divided by what? 14 players? I'm not good at math, so I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head. But it's still a nice little payday, and it's more basketball. Kids want to play, so if they all want to play, by all means, do it. So, again, I don't think it hurts the portal or affects the portal at all. I'm sure but to be honest, they're portal recruiting right now. Like,
I guess I'll say my piece. I think this needed to be a transformative offseason for the men's program. And I do think that preparing for more basketball is naturally, maybe I wouldn't say distraction's the right term, but I think there's going to be a lot of, I think a lot of us expected there to be a lot of moving parts this offseason. Like, I can't imagine coaching staff changes are going to be made before the tournament. And this is like the time where coaching moves are happening. I know the portal can't open until I think April 7th. So, I mean, guys are going to enter the portal, quote unquote, where they announce their intentions, and there's back channeling going on. So that could still happen, but I don't know. I don't quite understand it. I like that this will get more experience for guys, and I like that we've seen some good development from players late in the season, and this will help that more. I felt like you really need to hit the ground running, preparing for next season, not continuing on a lost season, if that makes sense. Alec, I kind of skipped you on the turn. What are your thoughts on Rutgers accepting this crown invitation?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mix of what everyone's kind of already talked about. Like, if it's not hindering what you're doing in terms of preparing for the offseason and preparing for next season, then I guess it is what it is. We talked about yesterday in our season ending pod, which I guess wasn't very season ending after all. There needs to be some kind of shift in philosophy or the way that they do things on the floor or something like that. There needs to be a shift of something because it just hasn't worked in a little bit. Now, is that going to prevent you from doing that? If so, then it makes me feel a little less good about it. But it's like, if the players want to do it and the coaches want to do it, then like it's up to them. And if they decide that they want to keep playing, then hey, good for them. Go ahead. If you didn't have a GM in place kind of doing all this stuff, I would be very much against it because you needed to be, preparing all that stuff. But, it's whatever, I guess. I don't know how much it's going to, hinder potential, like, turning the page to next year or whatever. But if Rutgers is going to really kind of turn a new leaf in terms of, the philosophy and the overhaul of something at the very least, because, you have back-to-back losing seasons, something's got to change at a macro level, not just, shuffling some of the personnel and things like that. If that does end up happening, if that doesn't end up happening because you're playing in this tournament, then I think it's a net negative, but it's whatever, I guess. Again, it's over before the national championship. Now, why it doesn't even start until April 1st, I have no idea. I guess you don't want to be in the same TV window as the NCAA tournament, but like, do you really have to wait until April 1st? I don't know, but it's whatever to me, honestly, and I guess the extra money does, even if it's not a lot of money, like any extra money doesn't really hurt. I'm basically indifferent as long as it's not, like Richie was talking about and Craig was talking about, as long as it's not hindering your progress to turn a new leaf and make progress as a program. It's whatever.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where you could convince yourself either way, honestly. And the prohibitive part of it, well, it's just like we'll probably never know because at the end of the day, they kind of keep that in house.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. I'm a little bit bummed. Hopefully they're still able to make some of the transformative changes that I think Rutgers basketball needs this offseason. And so I'm not trying to put a total mush on this, but I don't know. Not a huge fan off the
There'll be some sickos that watch it like me, and there will be some sickos that
Max.
probably bet on like Max, and probably some sickos that bet on it like Mike. But at the end of the day, I guess that's what it's all for, right? It's Fox. It's like I said about the women's basketball. I guess free in a way, kind of free sponsorship. So if Rutgers goes on a magical Cinderella run in the crown, I guess it ends up being a positive. And if they get blown out by Creighton, then it's like, well, why did we do that? What did we do that for?
$20,000, $30,000
Yeah,
person.
there you go. Yeah, a free trip to Vegas. Everybody loves a free trip to Vegas.
Yeah.
I guess unless you lose like your mortgage and your house. And
I'm so mad about it for the sole aspect that like I planned a spring break vacation with the girlfriend and it's that week, and it was like, hey, you can get the stadium swim club for like $75 a night for the media room, and I'm like, son of a bitch. Babe, you want to cancel this trip real quick?
I'm just saying, Richie, if you
No,
be
no,
coming back,
okay.
you got the shirt, you got the luck of the Irish on right now.
Hold on, I'll talk about that before we end.
All right, I think that's all the men's basketball news. One interesting football little item. Found out that Mikey Munn has a very interesting nickname on Twitter today. Mikey Munn, the transfer corner, it's nicknamed Moo. And he put up a graphic of, Moo Island and welcome to Moo Jersey. And so I want everyone to kind of just be prepared that he's got a nickname. And at the stadium, when he makes a big play, I want to hear the Moos out there because I think we can make that a thing and kind of build his brand. I think that's really cool.
Can I ask why his nickname is Moo?
Mun.
I don't know. I didn't get that far, Craig. I just saw that his family member posted a graphic of him with the nickname Moo. I imagine it has something to do with Derry being white and him being a white football player, but I don't know.
They're not saying boo.
They're not booing. They're not sinewing. They're not carooing. Yeah. They're mooing.
They're mooing. So I want that to be a thing this year. So people,
and also,
if you hear the moo in the stadium, it's for Mikey Munn.
And also Rutgers marketing. I want to hear like a moo sound effect from a cow if he breaks up the pass.
I feel like we're giving Rutgers marketing so many good ideas this offseason.
I know.
Especially in the football
train
sense.
horn, just put the moo.
Get rid of the train Nightmare on River Road. We gave them the skills competition or the Pro Bowl games instead of a spring game.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta get commission off this.
They do any of these. Like I'm going back and clipping it and be like, I told you to do this. Mike told you to do this. Alec told you. Craig told you to do this.
And if Moo doesn't take off for him, we got our own Mikey Moo over there.
There you go. Anything else, guys? We didn't touch on.
Just waiting to happen.
Yeah.
NIL. There we go. Easy deal.
The wrestling championships of this weekend. I thought they were last weekend for some reason. That was the state championships, though.
We will have a very in-depth article from a special guest, aka Lex Knapp, who's not really a special guest, but like a special guest, kind of.
Welcomed guest.
Yeah. So long story short, Lex has had a lot of family things that he has to take care of more than the TKR night report. I mean, when you have a kid, congrats to him. It's probably takes priority over the night report a little bit. He's also helping out with SKWC, so that also is a little bit of a factor there. But he will be having a special article that will be coming out tomorrow with his bracket by bracket predictions for every weight class and what he thinks is going to happen. He'll pick a champion. He'll pick a dark horse. He'll predict what the Scarlet Knight is going to do in their weight classes. So that is always one of my favorite articles of the year, and I had to strong arm him a little bit to do this one.
All right. Well, I guess that's all we got. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank our sponsor, FanDuel, once again. I want to shout out our other sponsor, coachingties.com. If you would like to sign up and get an understanding of where we might be headed in terms of the women's basketball assistant coaches, you can look into different coaching trees and connections there. Same thing for men's basketball. Who knows? There could be some changes, and maybe if you want to check out who might be the next good fit for Rutgers men's basketball on the assistant front, you can check that out as well. Also a football subscription if you just want to dive into some early hot boarding and carouseling for football season. But you can use the code TKR to get 10% off your membership. I want to thank everybody who's signed up or everybody who's subscribed to our YouTube page. And there we go. Yeah, there's Gary Redus, and he will be updated as Rutgers coach. I have a data cron that needs to run. And I want to thank everybody who's followed us on your favorite podcasting app too, and give us a 5-star review. You guys are great. Really appreciate you. I've seen those numbers tick up, so I don't want you to think it is unnoticed, because it is. And Richie, TKR, I think, is half off right now.
50% off for only a couple more days. It's a pre-portal sale. 50% off the night report. It comes out to $4.99 a month. So I mean, hey, you can't really beat that deal. Sign up. You'll get all the scoop on women's basketball, men's basketball, recruiting before it basically happens. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And also, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. If you heard that beeping in the background, that was my Amazon Alexa telling me the corned beef is ready, baby. So I'm ready to go. I got the Guinness. I'm hyped.
Were you drinking that while we were potting?
Hey, dude, so mind your business.
This makes a lot of sense now.
Are you judging him while we're potting, Craig?
No, I'm
Do
not.
we need to get the sock out?
Ah!
All right. Well, thanks again for everybody for listening. Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. Be safe out there. But for me, Richie, Alec, and Craig, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.